Xbox, I'm a and I don't know how to game.
Hey, Xbox, why does my wife not love me?
Console.
Welcome to Gamified, the show where people who actually work in gaming break down the biggest stories in the industry, one game mode at a time. Every topic has a format. Every panelist gets a 60-second clock. Nobody gets to be boring. This is episode 152, and we'll be joined by Oliver from OpenSea in just a second. But we're jumping into topic number one. Pokemon Go built a 30 billion image data set, and they're selling it to AI. Red flag or green flag? Is it okay for gaming companies to use player behavior and data that they're collecting, photos in this instance, as a sellable asset? And what companies might stand to benefit from doing exactly this outside of just Niantic? 143 million people thought they were just catching Pokemon, but they were actually building one of the largest real-world visual databases in AI history. Niantic just disclosed that photos and AR scans collected through Pokemon Go have produced a data set of 30 billion real-world images, and they're now going to be using that to power visual navigation AI for delivery robots. Players were scanning landmarks, storefronts, parks, sidewalks from every angle in every lighting condition at every time of day for the last 8 years. Red flag or green flag? Are you guys saying good for you, Niantic, for monetizing this data set, or does this give you a little bit of the ick? I'm going to go to Jonah first.
I had myself on mute in case you heard me making weird excitement sounds about Crimson Desert. You might think it's gross. I'm a little ambivalent. Like it doesn't. The answer is yes, but it doesn't matter, right? Like, like if we have this discussion, it's like people are still going to play. It's not like all the kids who are playing Pokemon Go or the old people playing Pokemon Go are like, oh my God, no! You get to see what road I drive on. Oh, like. It's not like they don't care. And by the way, it will feel less invasive than the moral way, which is DoorDash literally today announced that they will pay people to take pictures of their house and doing chores and submit it into DoorDash, which feels objectively worse than just playing Pokemon with your friends. So it won't matter. This is the end game.
Just a reminder to our panelists, we have a little chat that you guys can drop in if you want to speak first on an individual topic. Feel free to let us know. Lems can help you find that. I'm going to go to Knock next.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's obviously a green flag for Niantic. And I think when you're playing Pokemon Go, you agree to these things in the terms and services when you decide to give it access to your phone, your microphone, and everything else that you're doing on your mobile device. So I think, hey, this was the cost of that 6-month window in 2016 where, there was world peace and everybody was excited and everybody loved everybody. Here we are 10 years later, we're understanding what was happening with all that data. But I think that this is like a game developer's dream, right? You're building a product that does well financially. People enjoy playing the game. You're building community around that particular game. I still see people every summer go out and play Pokemon Go. And on top of all of that, you've collected a subset of data that you can then use and leverage and sell off to somebody who's going to use it for something that is, real world, in the case of Pokemon Go, delivery robots. You asked the question, what other game teams might have a data set that is valuable for AI training? I think the obvious answer is the trio of Roblox, Fortnite, and Minecraft, right? They've got hundreds, if not thousands of people creating microeconomies, mini games, environments, things that users want to be doing. And I think that data is incredibly valuable for anybody who wants to train, user behavior.
Wills, I'm going to you next, brother.
So you asked if it was red flag or green flag, and I think it's that flag that you see in dystopian movies that's all tattered and it's on top of a pile of dead bodies. That's the flag that I see. Because look, I think delivery robots, self-driving cars, that's all well and good, but this is about this has ripple effects onto the fundamental value of human beings. And I think that the way that AI executives are talking, and I know you guys all saw the clip of Sam Altman being like, oh yeah, you're going to have intelligence on a tap. And it's like, okay, well, if intelligence comes from a tap that is AI, how do you pay to use the tap? And the answer is data. The answer is how much data about your purchasing habits and about how you direct money through the economy can you provide these organizations that they're willing to reimburse you for. And before we start doing 50 million merits and sticking people on bikes in front of e-stores and live TikTok shopping is the only form of career, companies are going to try and get as much of that data for free as possible. And I think this is the first wave of something that's going to be a lot more common, which is businesses simply existing to curate data for these AI models and for this kind of future economy.
Let's go to Warren next. Warren, red flag or green flag? 30 billion images being sold by Niantic from Pokemon Go.
Yeah, to me, this is straight up red flag. I mean, Doc, you mentioned like Roblox in comparison. The big difference here is like Roblox, there was a report out, it's like 90% of the new growth in gaming, like new hours played in all of gaming last year was Roblox. So like Roblox is on an insane growth trajectory. And I've got the data pulled up in the background here. I mean, monthly, like Pokemon Go is making about 30 million in revenue a year, which is not nothing, but it's way down from its peak. And we got to like look back what happened the last few years. It's like Scopely got gobbled up by the Saudi PIF fund. Pokemon Go got gobbled up by Scopely, and revenues are on the decline. So I think this is like someone in there, someone's got an earn out, and they got to grow revenue. And the stories on this have been a bit like it was all according to plan, but it's clear like they're just trying to get revenue where they can, and so they're selling player data or looking for ways to monetize it as a way to find growth when the game is on a natural decline. And I don't think you do this for a healthy and growing game.
Yeah, that leads beautifully into my follow-up question here. I'll send this one to Chris Heatherly. Is it possible that this actually leads us to an absolute golden era of gaming where this brand new form of monetization presents itself and they're able to make a ridiculous amount of money without pinching the user over and over again with microtransactions? Chris Heatherly, red or green flag here?
In that context, I think it's a green flag, but they're gonna pinch you anyway, right? So get rid of that. Get rid of that fantasy. No, I think I share all the privacy concerns that people, that other people do, but no one seems to care about their privacy because we're just giving this data to all these big tech companies, and it's really not anything new because, if you don't like this, like what have you been doing with Facebook and X and Instagram and every other freaking app that's been collecting data on you and selling it and not telling you anyway? So, I also think the thing is that the way that Niantic is using this data is to map the world, as opposed to like, the way Facebook does, which is to, target you and manipulate you. Right now, maybe they wind up. I think it gets really creepy if Niantic starts tracking where you go and starts using that data against you. But I think back to your original question, I do think it positions games as a place where you can collect this kind of data, and it makes them more interesting to VCs as an investment. So that's positive.
I like that. Let's go over to Oliver Maroney.
Yeah, I think I'm going to be contrary to the red flag comments. I understand the red flag of all of this, but I actually think this is a green flag for consumers because it gives you, it's like a very, very strong reminder that you are giving data to people whenever you decide to allow your microphone and camera and things like that. And you should be aware of this stuff. Like, it happens more than you think it does. And just because this one was found out doesn't mean, to Warren's point around Roblox or anything else, that data isn't being used otherwise as well. And so I'm not saying that they are or aren't using it in an efficient way or a way that, deceives the consumer, to Chris's point around like kind of Facebook's use of data. But I just think in general, it's a green flag for consumers to be aware of and to know that this is out there. And I'm actually glad this came out because I'm not glad, but I'm glad that it reminded people of what this stuff can actually do when people put it to use. And I think a lot of people will be more wary of connecting, X, Y, or Z to their favorite games or otherwise. And so I think it's actually a really good reminder for people around data and how games and companies can use that data.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, this means they also have pictures of like the inside of your house and what kind of car you drive, maybe even your license plate, those kinds of things. But I think myself and many others always explain it away with like, yeah, but like 30 billion images, like who's looking at mine? You know, whatever, it's fine. Let's go over to Will's and we'll tag knock back in.
No, I think the second point you brought is really interesting about how does this provide values to games. And I think for a while there's almost been this kind of level of economic failure in games where they have not been, like, the games and the people who make the games have not been receiving the full value of the data that they are putting into the economy, and that is being reaped by the advertisers, by the UA platforms, and kind of this rigmarole of black boxes in how we direct people to games. And I think that the reason that we've seen game prices started to hike is because, and all of this kind of economic security from the studio side within games is because there's been all this money and there's been all this investment and there's all this money coming in, but so much of it is being spent not on the game itself. It's being spent on user targeting. It's being spent on user acquisition generally. And I think that it then does need to be a reevaluation of the way that value is redistributed between, advertisers and games. And I think seeing games get a larger slice of the value of the data that they create is absolutely essential for, keeping the industry sustainable.
Knock, over to you.
Yeah, I'll give you the real red flag in all of this. You put on blinders like a racehorse like this, but most consumers go like this when they sign the terms and conditions. Listen, Niantic is a company that was originally started by John Hank, who was the founder of Keyhole. Keyhole was a spatial data company that was absorbed by Google. John Hank then ran Google Maps, Google Earth, all of the geospatial functions within Google itself, then spun out Niantic, a company that itself is named after a whaling vessel famous for circumnavigating the globe, hunting whales. This was always a geospatial data play. It was just
Such
had a Pokemon
random fact,
right? It just had a Pokemon wrapper on top of it. I mean, the idea is they have been very upfront about who they are and what they do and what their expertise is. And just because it looked cute and you saw Pikachu in your living room doesn't mean that they changed the DNA of who this company was. They have always been a geospatial company by nature. They're still that same company. This is just the next step in that history for them.
Well, that's a good way to wrap this one up and go ahead and move on to what I think is maybe the most egregious topic of the day. Microsoft's Gaming Copilot is coming to Xbox. Bullish or bullshit on Microsoft AI Gaming Sidekick Copilot integration. They just announced this at GDC. You can ask it mid-session, apparently, how do I beat this boss? Or what's my next achievement? Or recommend something like what I've been playing. That one actually doesn't sound terrible. It pulls from your full Xbox profile, play history, achievements, Game Pass status, owned games, and reads real-time context like screenshots and game state to give you personalized tips and strategies, voice mode, no alt tab, no pausing to Google a walkthrough. That's the launch version. The patents tell a slightly different story. Microsoft has filed for a feature where AI temporarily takes control of a tough section of a game and hands it back whenever you're ready. If anybody remembers the difference between the kids at school that used Game Sharks versus the kids that didn't use Game Sharks, I think we're queuing up for round 2 of that version of it. 1 week after, this all comes 1 week after Xbox new leadership went on record saying they would avoid things like AI-generated slop in games. Apparently, this one didn't fall under that umbrella. Bullish or bullshit on Gaming Copilot and the future of Xbox? Let's go to Oliver.
Oh, man. I did not know I was going first here, but I will tell you right now that I do not like this. I am a huge fan of AI in various ways. I am. But I have a nostalgic taste for, like, learning how to beat something without having to go and cheat my way through it, if you will. And I understand that the AI may not do that initially, but I feel like this is where this goes. It's not a great path when the game itself that you're playing, the curiosity of playing the game that you're playing, gets removed from that game. And so this comes out of a little bit of fearfulness more than it does anything else. I'm just worried about how this gets implemented and how kids and people and players either abuse this or use it so much that their gaming habits change drastically, where, look, maybe it's for the best, but I fear that we're losing the lust of what gaming is all about.
Yeah. That's my fear as well. Let's go over to Knock, who's going apeshit in the group chat.
Dude, like, yeah, back in my day, you could either look or move. Like, come on, we're not playing the first version of video games here anymore. I think that this is ridiculous, and I can already hear Koji grumbling. I used to walk uphill both ways in the snow to school. Like, this nostalgia for things that were hard for the sake of being hard is stupidity. Let's all go back to, horse and wagon. I think the idea here is you're already in a world where the time for gaming is compressed. People don't have as much time as they did when they were younger. You have obligations, you have things that you have to control. It's part of the reason why you see mobile gaming booming. I think something like what has been described here is actually going to be incredibly impactful for the father of 2 kids who comes home after a long day of work and has 60 minutes to play a game once a week and doesn't want to spend 55 of those minutes trying to figure out how to leave the room that he's in. I think that this helps people get exposure to more games, play more games, have more fun with their way. The patent thing is a pure alarmist bell. We've seen this 1,000 times. We've talked about it on the show. These companies, they file for patents in case they want to do something downstream. And even if that is the case, even if you can hand it over to the AI for 15 seconds to get something done, who cares? You don't have to play that game. The point is here, let's make it easier for more people to play more games more often. And this is what that's about.
Wow. I'm surprised Knock has taken the let the gamers game however they want in particular. Jonah, I'm going to you. Bullish or bullshit Xbox Copilot in Xbox?
It's bullshit. It's so stupid. So I'm not opposed to AI in games, but you have to know where the AI needs to be used. For example, pre-production, AI is amazing, right? Like the Baldur's Gate 3 devs already decided that would work. The only reason they stopped is because a bunch of people online were crying about it. And even then, they're probably lying and they're still doing it, right? Because they just don't want to have to deal with the nonsense. But, what I would like, I think there's 2 scenarios where this would be really good. I think 1 is where it doesn't exist. But 2, I think the kids are going to be all right. Because Facebook tried this already with the Meta Quest and the metaverse, which they just shut down for $70 billion of loss. I remember when they first opened that game, the kids were like, "Oh wow, the metaverse!" What they did is they had metaverse workers who were sit there and be customer service, and the kids would harass them and bully them until they all quit. And so I think if there was a bot where it's the bots on the Xbox is dude, I'm watching you play Elden Ring. You fucking suck. It'd be really funny if you were live streaming and the bot was calling you a piece of shit and that you're it would just grief you. Then people will use it, but they're not. Other than that, it's a waste of time. If you want DIY, just go to YouTube and look at what's a how-to on YouTube. That's what people have done for years, and that's not going to change.
Going to Chris Heatherly next. What do we think? Copilot in Xbox?
It's bullshit, and frankly, I'm shocked and floored and by Knock's pro response here. I mean, first of all, Copilot is notorious as a lousy AI dev companion, and everyone who's cool uses Claude or something else, right? But not Copilot. Copilot is, I think, it's where Clippy would have been a better fate, right?
Yeah.
Where the fuck is Cortana? They made a Windows Phone years ago. I don't know if you guys remember, but their version of Siri was Cortana, which I thought was a cool idea. It should be Cortana. They own fucking Halo. For God's sake, But I also think it looks terrible for Ashra. She came out and I was on the cycle of this is terrible, and then maybe she's going to do some fresh new things and it's going to be interesting. And this is the first thing they do with AI with her. I think just as a PR thing, it's a terrible it's a terrible first action with AI. Not bullish.
Yeah, why would you announce this? It's not even coming until Q3 or Q4. Why would they announce it at GDC where people are going to hate it the most?
Well, because it's a very simple. I'll tell you why. It's because a bunch of boomer bankers and private equity owners who run these large institutions, they are buying any stock that uses the word AI because they don't want to be left behind. And so these guys at GDC know that the boomers don't even, the last game they played was Pac-Man, and they think all the kids will use it, and so they'll buy up the shares and the price go up technology. It's the same thing we did in crypto. It's a pump and dump. That's all it is.
Yeah,
but doesn't that say that they're going to do exactly the lamest possible thing with AI?
Oh, it's going to be complete dog shit. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's going to suck.
Knox says he's ready to steel man. I'm going to circle back to him in just a second, though. Let's go to Warren and Oliver first.
Yeah, Jonah, I think you're right about like why they are leading with the AI, but like from a player standpoint, it's definitely sabotaging. Like the actual spirit of this, I think, is awesome, and I would be all about this as a player. But I think bundling it and within the brand of Copilot and leading with AI is going to lead to the toxic reaction we all expect. But I actually would make the case that this will make gaming experiences more immersive. I'm not sure if I'm the only one that has done this, but basically every game I've ever played in my life, I've either had, maybe it's because I suck at gaming, but I've always had like either a strategy guide when I was like young, like super young, or now I have my cell phone pulled up with like a guide for, you know, if I'm playing, I'm like replaying Cyberpunk right now. So I've got like, you know, strategy guides and specs like on my phone, and it breaks immersion, right? Like whenever you're going back and forth, like to like go on your phone, pull shit up. So I would absolutely love if I could just like talk to my device and be like, hey, what's optimal spec for this, or where do I find this loot, whatever I'm working through. But I think the key to doing this right is like, don't go whole hog. Like they should like ease the features in, and I think hold back on the things like actually controlling your player character, actually treat it more like a companion where you still have to drive. And I think you won't run into as much of like the player toxicity of some of the red flag cases we're making here of like this kills the spirit and the joy of gaming. If you do it right and have a light touch, this can make it more immersive.
Oliver, are you letting Copilot play games for you?
No. I look, on the flip side, if you want to have another argument here, I think this is truly an interesting data play. If you wanted to go that direction, you have more data on the player, what they're thinking, how they're playing. Potentially, like this is the vision 5 years from now, 10 years from now, I would assume, similar to the Pokemon Go analogy that we had, or not the analogy, but the real life thing that happened with Pokemon Go. This also feels like a way where you can get a data set from players and then spit out a better result from that, i.e. from Microsoft or game studios or things like that. But right now, my heart of hearts tells me that this is just not, I don't need this. As a gamer, I want to. And I guess this is everybody has their own opinion on how they play games. My opinion of how I play games is I put the disc in and I figure out how to play it. That's the fun of it, learning it. I don't want guide X or YouTube video X. The challenge is in beating the thing without using those things. Like
so much more lazy than you, Oliver. I'm so much more lazy.
Like, I don't understand. I'm shocked when I was hearing the strategy guide. Yes, I remember as a kid, you would look up like, oh, how do you do this trick in Tony Hawk Pro Skater or something? Because you don't know all the buttons. But other than that, like play the game and learn it. And that's the point of it. And guess what? Knock to your little, like your parent with 2 kids, 60 minutes a day, whatever. Come on. Like I have 60 minutes a day to learn how to play the game. And guess what? I'm not going to probably be the target audience for this thing anyways. So I don't need this.
So what's funny is you don't need AI for this. So a good example of a game that already figured out how to do this is Deadlock, which is made by Valve. So if you play Deadlock and I'm bad at it, I don't know what half the powers are, but when you're going to your build and buy menu and you click to the build browser, they built an in-app browser. A bunch of the best players around the world who are on Twitch, they'll have like their little Twitch tag or the YouTube tag, and then they'll show you what their build is, and you click this one button, it says copy this build, and then throughout the entire match, it'll say buy this, buy this, buy this. There's no AI in that mix. It's just like other players who did overcome that challenge are showing you how to do it, and that's way more interesting for me because it's like, oh, that's XQC, all right? Like I watched that guy. Okay, it shows exactly what the build is, and that's a much more engaging experience than whatever the fuck this is.
Wild Rift actually does this with the top players too. Let's go over to Knock. We got 2 for Copilot, 4 against Copilot. Go ahead and steelman it.
Well, listen, Oliver's first problem is that he's still putting the disc into the thing that he's playing. So take everything he said with a fucking grain of salt here, right? I think the important piece to understand is that people are not reading. And back to our previous comment, This is how we're approaching anything that says the letters AI, eyes closed, right? What was actually described as Xbox Copilot, and here are the actual quotes and examples. Hey, Xbox, I was playing Elden Ring. What should I play tonight? Here's a list of suggestions. Hey, Xbox, I have all of these things in my inventory. What should I be doing from a crafting perspective? Hey, Xbox, when does my Game Pass renew and what does my membership status look like? The idea here is that you have a voice-first navigation tool that allows you and helps you to augment your gaming experience. Xbox Record That is a phrase everybody in this room has said a dozen times before, and we're just taking that a step further. What has happened here is, to Chris Heatherly's point, you have an AI executive who's come in, she's come in under controversy, and the first thing that she announces is something related to AI, and people have found a patent that says maybe one day AI will play your game, and it's being blown way out of proportion. But from a user experience, what sounds better? Xbox, where do I go next? Or pause the game, take 15 minutes, bring up a web browser, watch a YouTube video, figure out what the fuck it is I need to do, and then continue on. I think the former sounds a lot better.
Will,
Xbox, I'm a fucking retard and I don't know how to game.
Hey, Xbox, why does my wife not love
console.
I think Knock is secretly a Microsoft employee here.
me? Hey, Xbox, why
No, dude, I have been the president of the Xbox is a terrible business, and Phil Spencer's got to go, and they've killed my beloved thing for the last 2.5 years. I just think there are plenty of reasons to hate Xbox over the last couple of years. This announcement really shouldn't be one, and if the letters A and I weren't part of it, I don't think we are even having this conversation.
That's probably fair. That's
That's
Will,
really
go over
fair.
to you.
Yeah, I think what Nock's saying has a lot of value, and I think that having having something to navigate you through those kind of tricky, pain in the ass experiences is absolutely something you're going to need. But to be honest, I think that the first rollout of this is going to be absolutely miserable. I think what you're gonna do, the experience will be, hey, Xbox, can you help me figure out a build for this game? And it's or how to get out of this specific area, and it's gonna give you from the game manual how to do it, instead of actually how you're supposed to do it, because that's intuitive to a human being. I think we're gonna be running up against all of these kind of road bumps of how AIs interact with games versus how humans interact with games. I think that it can be helpful for those kind of software meta, navigating through the Xbox menu, all of that kind of stuff. It'll be helpful, but for actually helping you have fun with the game, I really don't think it's going to be that much, because all the games it would be good for are the ones where you optimize the fun out of the game anyways, like Deadlock. That's not a game that's supposed to be fun. Those are PvP experiences, and I think that for those it's going to be very helpful. But for a lot of games, I think, as people are saying, games where you're supposed to explore, supposed to interact, those are the games where it's not going to be as helpful.
Great discussion on that topic, and we do have more AI on the plate here with Nvidia DLSS 5 demo. But I'm gonna circle back to that in just a second. Let's refresh our palates a little bit. Did Slay the Spire 2 leave money on the table? Over under, Slay the Spire launched at $25. It's already sold 3 million copies. But should it have been priced at $30, $35, $40, maybe like Expedition 33 was? AAA games now cost $300 million or more to develop before marketing. Budgets have grown 8x since 2000. The $70 price point is now standard for all titles that we're seeing on console. Meanwhile, hardware sales are at a 35-year low, and the top titles capture 50 to 60% of all platform revenue, except the data says otherwise on indie and AA games priced between $10 and $50 are dominating the Steam charts and player satisfaction in 2025. Slay the Spire 2 in 2026 is one of the best reviewed games of the year. Players clearly valued it extremely. The question is whether $25 was actually the price point that they should have selected, or if it undersold it. I'm not even going to say $25 over under, because I think $35 is a fairer price point. Over under $35 is where you think Slay the Spire should have been potentially sold. Again, they sold 3 million copies already at $25. Let's go to Warren first on this one.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, flying back from GDC was hilarious, because I had my laptop out playing Slay the Spire 2, and I'd get up to take a piss and just see every laptop out, every other person was playing Slay the Spire 2. So could they have extracted more value from this? Absolutely, but I think doing this lets them make a bigger play. Like they're stunting on the whole industry by doing this right now, and the momentum that they get. Part of the success and part of why we all root for indie games that are good indie games is the culture of indie gaming, and part of that is like not gouging the players. So would they have made more money if they charge? I mean, if they charge $50 for this? Probably, but then right now we have a storm of like positive sentiment, positive press. Everyone wants this game and this team to succeed right now, and you don't have that if you have that counter narrative of these guys are gouging. This isn't a $50 game or whatever it is. So I think from a brand marketing standpoint, they get more upside from this, and probably more overall players and more higher volume of sales. But I think probably incrementally less revenue if I had to guess. But I think I like exactly where they launched at. I would have done the same thing.
Interesting. So Warren's taking the under. Knock, I'll go to you next. This reminds me of Mugenics also launching around that same price point. What do you think? Over, under, Slay the Spire could have gotten away with $35 maybe?
I'm going to say under. They could have probably pushed for $35, but why do we need to, right? I think Slay the Spire is the team that shipped this product is going to be wildly happy with the success of this title already just a couple weeks in. I think that the number of sales are only going to increase over the course of the next couple of months and years. For me, this is a reminder that an indie studio can build a product that is exciting and impactful and not charge an arm and a leg for that same product. And I think it builds future goodwill for what they ship next. I think you've seen this now with the team who shipped Hollow Knight. You've seen this now with the team who shipped Binding of Isaac, with Mugenics and Silksong, respectively. I think that this is a net positive. I want to see more indie devs deliver a title that I can pay $25 for, have a ton of fun, play it a dozen times over the course of the year, and then I'll buy their next title as well. I think the idea of how much could we have milked out of the consumer is an idea that belongs in AAA gaming, and we see how that's been going for them. I think that the strategy that we're seeing out of the indie teams is probably the strategy that makes more sense. Let's keep it at $25. And also, let's just be realistic. If they had prices at $30, the narrative would have been, hey, we've got a $35 expansion for Slay the Spire. Fuck this team. So it's difficult to find the balance between value and public sentiment, right?
Yeah, I don't know, man. Mugenics $30, Silksong $20. So they went super value. They
split the middle, baby, right down the middle. Sure. Feels like a good spot for me.
I don't know. They're saying it's won Game of the Year for Steam Awards in 2025. Or sorry, I'm looking at Silksong. I mean, are you telling me they couldn't have charged you $35 and sold almost as many copies? It seems crazy to me. Let's go to Will's.
You know, I think you can have so many interesting conversations about how much is a game really worth. And I'm going to steal a quote from Northern Lion here and say that if Slay the Spire, the original one, was priced correctly, it would be the price of a Toyota Corolla, because there is so much depth and value in that game. And that's the thing, is we're never going to see these things priced for the value that they're worth. You know, Call of Duty would pay you to play it if that was the case. But I think that specifically Slay the Spire 2 and the kind of sequel that it is, it's not revolutionary. I'm going to be completely honest. Like, as someone who played a bunch of Slay the Spire and was super excited for Slay the Spire 2, that's all it is. It's Slay the Spire 2. It's the same thing. They added a few little things, and I think that expectation setting was a really important part. If this game had been $35, I would have expected 8 characters, you know, a whole bunch of different ways to engage with the game. Obviously, they added co-op, but that was a mod before. Like, I think they positioned themselves perfectly as not to, you know, overset expectations, overrun any boundaries. Do we see a DLC in the future to kind of, you know, add more content and more characters? I wouldn't be surprised. But like, I think that Nox said it exactly right. This is a $25 expansion to Slay the Spire, and for what it is, it's value for money.
That is what it is. Let's go to Oliver next.
Yeah, I'm going to go under just like everybody else. I think pricing it at a lower price point gives you it sets the expectation bar a little bit lower for players. Whether that $10 is that big of a difference or not, I think it proves the case right now that many people are playing it. They're telling their friends, they're telling other people, and I believe you get more players when you have positive reviews like this over time. And so, to Nox's point, I think to Warren's point, to many people here have already said it, I think this is the right move, even though they could have probably charged $35 and gotten away with it and maybe sold as many copies. I think the sentiment probably wouldn't be exactly the same as what we're talking about today. And I do think that sentiment is worth that $10 difference.
Let's go over to Warren, and then we'll tag back in. Let's tag back in Warren, and then we'll go to Jonah.
Yeah, just thinking about this as we talk about it, it's sort of like for any of y'all that do hiring, it's sort of like if you hire someone at a 50K salary versus a 100K salary, and that 50K person does a really good job, and that 100K person did like the same job. It's like you're stoked on the 50K person, and you're disappointed in the 100K person. In that same way, like as a $25 game, this is a hell yeah $25 game where you can recommend it to all your friends and know they will be happy for the $25 they spent. In marketing terms, it's called like K factor. Like for each person that plays the game, how many people did they refer or invite to play the game? If this was a $50 game, I'm not recommending it to anyone because I might have had fun, but I feel like, it's hard to say like, oh, this is great ROI for $50. So it's hell yeah at $25, and they're going to get like that high K factor. But as a premium price point, I don't think they get that. And I think they maybe net out less at the end of the day.
Yeah, to someone's earlier point too, this might set them up for another expansion, another title from the same studio, or a DLC, and people would be excited to buy it because of this experience as well. Let's go to Jonah.
Yeah, I think it doesn't matter if it's over or under. I think what matters is all money in business is made in the margin. It's not what the price of the asset is. It's what margin you make on selling that asset. And they're a team of 10 to 20 people, I think. From what I read, it's like a very, very small team. If you have 10 people and you make $75 million, before tax, let's say after tax, wherever they're based, let's call it 30 to 40 million, right? Because their expenses are not insane. It's not a crazy multiplayer game, so there's no live service cost. They're in the net millions of dollars, and divide that by 10, any of these guys could retire for the rest of their lives. And so charging $25 is just fine. It's just on point, right? Doesn't matter if they could have made more money, because the amount of money they did make will, suffice them for the rest of their lives if they decide to not make another title.
Chris, Heatherly, you got to take on this one?
Yeah, Jonah's completely right. It's in the Goldilocks zone. It's like the perfect price. I mean, I don't know why you're pushing to it was a good launch and everyone's happy and the price was affordable, but they could have made more money. I mean, they're gonna. I mean, I just looked it up. They're gonna make more money on this game than they made on the first game, right? And for a small studio, they're all doing great, so they're able to. I think we should be all advocating for games to be an affordable hobby and where people can afford to buy more of them, right? So I actually don't want to advocate for people to price games at the maximum of what they can get, because I think it's better for the entire industry to train people on the fact that you can buy more than 2 games a year, which is what people buy of AAA games, right? We need to get people consume 130 videos a day on TikTok, right? And they buy 2 AAA games a year. We need to get the price value right so that people can be consistent gamers. And I think this does that.
Great point. Oliver, back to you.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to Jonah's point too. I think it sets them up, short and long term as a business, but I also think it sets them up to do another one of these if they want to, because the sentiment is so positive. You can go out and do another product and people will buy it. Like everyone's talking about expansions, whatever they want to do, they have the free reins to do that. You don't necessarily have that if you're charging too high of a price where people now feel like they've been gouged and they're not getting the value that they're, expected to get out of it. And so I think there is this dynamic here that I think we don't talk about, especially with indie games. I would say Call of Duty can keep printing money doing the same thing over and over and over because we've seen it and they have this distribution marketing platform, the whole thing. But, indie games, very different story. If you win in indie gaming and you do a great first title, you're probably setting yourself up for a great second title if you want to have it. And so I think they've done this very, very strategically in a way that, they can do another game if they want to, or potentially a full series of games, depending on how well they do with other expansions.
I think the big thing is you can purchase every game that Ed McMillan has shipped. So Binding of Isaac, Mugenics, and a couple of other titles for about 60% of the cost of this year's Call of Duty. I'm doing that many times over.
Yeah, 1,000%. Shout out to Ed McMillan. Well, let's move on to, was GDC's pivot to the Festival of Gaming a success? About, I think 5 of the 7 of us were here at GDC. Are we buying or selling this new format? the iconic conference rebranded to the quote-unquote Festival of Gaming. 5 days, 20,000 attendees, down from 30,000 last year, 700 sessions, 300 exhibitors at the Moscone Center. Some concerns heading into the event were gaming in America maybe not being sustainable anymore. Obviously, studios closing, layoffs are compounding. Some people mentioned not feeling safe coming to the US. A lot of people weren't able to leave their home country to make it to the US. And GDC's answer to that was to turn it into a festival, a celebration of gaming on top of being one of the best B2B gaming events of the year. As someone who's personally attended the conference the last 3 years, I can confidently say I did not see a single sign of said festival. I have no fucking clue what this is in reference to whatsoever. But now that it's wrapped, buy or sell the Festival of Gaming format for GDC. Let's go to Chris Heatherly.
I mean, I'd have to sell it, but I never ballers never go to buy a pass. You know, like you hang out at the St. Regis or the W or the Plaza or the Marriott. You never buy a pass to the game show anyway. So, you know, that's strictly for punters, you know, and hobbyists. But I think the festival was like they had like some like food tents on the Yerba Buena Green one day, and that was the festival part of it. I thought it was a good GDC. Look, it was lower attendance for a bunch of reasons. You know, I think, you know, some of them were ridiculous. People saying they don't feel safe. I think everyone was safe and no one was, you know, ICE didn't raid the event. But, you know, the people who showed up were pretty hardcore. A lot of people have been laid off and couldn't afford to come, you know, but the people who showed up were pretty hardcore and there were a lot of honest conversations. People were kind of depressed, but I also saw a lot of people who were kind of optimistic. So I felt like the quality of the attendees was really high, and that's all I care about.
Great note there from Chris. Let's go over to Will Spangler. Will's, as an indie gaming guy, not flying under any banner this year. What'd you think?
I'm going to second what you said. It said this whole Festival of Gaming thing. Like, I have no idea what that was. I heard that there was people who wanted to be they wanted to be more consumer friendly. I didn't see any consumers except me. I was consuming a lot of video games while I was out there, and that was a lot of fun. But I think to Chris's point, it was a lot smaller of a conference, but everybody that I met there was busy, driven, and motivated, and like stuff is happening. I think that there's been a massive kind of power vacuum, especially in the US, around these kind of conferences and where the power lies at the moment. Because, you know, is the way that games are being made in the US at the moment sustainable? And is that going to keep working? Absolutely not. We can't keep pouring $500 million into games that are going to flop. And I think that all the giant public publishers and companies are kind of running around like, oh shit, what do? We don't know how to make games anymore. And there are all these indie devs here who know exactly what they're doing and know exactly who they're making games for. And I think we're really kind of seeing this sort of upswell from the bottom of the market to the top. All the people that want, like, all the money that was coming in from those kind of like large AAA games, those people still want to play games, and they want to spend their money somewhere. To Knox's point earlier, they want to spend their money on 3 of the coolest games that they can get for $20 to $15 a pop, and that's what I think is really going to happen. I think the whatever festival, whatever kind of organization is able to put indie devs in the room with each other, allow them to sort of shine together and sort of rising tide lifts all boats kind of thing. I think that's where we're going to see success. Did GDC do a good job of that this year? I don't think so. There were plenty of demo days that were happening. You know, as Chris said, you know, the ballers weren't in the show floor. They were running around. And I think that as someone who was running around, it was a lot of fun. There were lots of really cool games and the energy was there. But the conference itself, as like the GDC organization, I don't think should be too chuffed about how this year went.
That reminds me that Chris referred to everybody that's not hanging out at the W as a punter, which is fucking hilarious. So good. Oliver, I want to get one more take from you before you have to take off. With that being said, though, you weren't able to make it out this year, which we were all sad about. What did you think from a distance? Did you get the festival vibe from this year? You buying or selling? Yeah,
I was gonna say, I'm selling the Festival of Gaming stuff. I'd actually like. I think the tickets are quite prohibitive, to Chris's point and other people's point. I don't think maybe I bought one year, but otherwise I have never purchased one. When I've gone for 3 out of the last 4 years. And I think the thing that I was going to touch on is just the fact that there is, I think this festival of gaming narrative is not something that is really true to what GDC is. I that it's always been pretty business savvy and very much like more technically there than like say a Gamescom. And it feels like GDC was trying to pivot to like what Gamescom is. And that's just not what GDC is. And to be honest with you, the fact that they did this kind of tells me that Gamescom is not the same as GDC. I'm not trying to compare the two, but I will tell you right now that if I were in any game studio shoes, I'd be putting more effort and energy into Gamescom than I would GDC moving forward based on some of these changes that they've made, because they haven't stayed true to who this conference is supposed to be, in my opinion.
That's a great point. And that's something I've heard consistently from everybody that I've talked to on the sponsorship side, or games that want to, get exposure. Every single one of them has said Gamescom is where our focus is. Jonah, going over to you.
Yeah, I did not go this year, but I did go to Gamescom, which was great. My hot take is I think give it another 2 to 3 years, maybe sooner, but GDC will not exist anymore. It'll go out of business and you won't see it. It'll be like E3. E3 was this amazing thing at the time, but the times have changed. And it's going to die the same way E3 did. When E3 died, it died because Sony, Xbox, Nintendo realized, hey, I can make a lot more money and save a lot more money when I make my own showcase and do it online. Because if E3 is just a showcase, then it doesn't matter. And the same thing is true for GDC. When I went to GDC about almost 2 years ago, Epic Games was the flagship host, effectively, and Roblox and Discord. But Unreal has now launched the Unreal Fest, which is a global, smaller event, but focused on Unreal Engine builders. And Roblox has like the State of Roblox in San Francisco in their own like peer venue. And those are the two dominant growth vectors of gaming right now. You saw with Matthew Ball from Epiphylion, or Apillion, however you say his name is too complicated. Epsilon, thank you. I didn't read that way, though. I think it's Apillion, so I'll say Apillion. It showed that last year, a majority of games growth in the US was just Roblox. It wasn't anything else. It was literally Roblox, Fortnite, mobile, and Roblox was growing faster than even mobile, and mobile was stalling out. And so if you're Roblox, why would you care about GDC? Just make your own thing. And then if you want to be retail, it's like, you're not going to beat Geoff Keighley. It's just, sorry, you're not. He's got more money. He's got 2 decades of experience. He does more views in the Super Bowl. You're not beating him. And he's not going to buy your asset because he has Summer Games Fest. So he could just build a business booth around Summer Games Fest in LA and call it a day. So that means they'll be out of business.
Well, that's the point. Is I think that my joke the whole show was that the Roblox developer conference is the real GDC. I mean, I feel like GDC almost showed its irrelevance this year because it wasn't about Roblox and it wasn't about indie games. To Jonah's point, that's Summer Games Fest. So what is it about? Those are the two hottest places in the industry. The part that's dying is like this expanded North American, European, AAA stuff. That's the part that's dying, and that's who it's really dedicated to. So I think if they want GDCs to survive, they've got to make it more accessible, first of all, and cut the fucking price, because $1,000 is just, there's no indie that's going to be able to afford to go to that. Students can't afford to go to that. But they've also just got to make it more about where gaming is going. And it's not, I always joke with Dean Takahashi. I'm like, I'll go to GameSpeed again when you have Asmon Gold on the panel. These game formats need to update to where gaming is today and where it's going. And it's not gaming of the 90s,
Yeah, it's a great point. One more thing I wanted to ask, who knows what GDC it was? So it's 2026. What number GDC is this?
Like how many years has it been? I don't know. I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, that's an issue. It's number 40. It's an anniversary year. and nobody gave a shit. Nobody even knew. It was like on the bottom of one pamphlet. And I was like, somebody asked me, actually, we were designing our own merch and it said GDC 26. And I was like, you need an apostrophe. You need to show it's the year because everybody's going to think we're saying it's the 26th GDC. What GDC is it? I want to look it up. And I looked it up. And that's how I found out that it's the 40th. I was like, this should be fucking huge. It should be everywhere that this is the 40th year of this thing. Complete fumble on their part.
So Sam is the new head of GDC. I think we solved it.
There you go, dude.
There we go.
Congrats on that role. You have to deal with homeless people, knives, and people who don't like making games anymore, but don't want to get a job somewhere else.
Just like this panel.
It'll be a hell of a 2 years, boys. I can't wait. I'm losing track of the chat. Who else? I think Knock wants to jump in. Warren, I'll send it back to you in a sec too.
Yeah, I think GDC's like Festival of Gaming is directionally correct in the same way that piling a bunch of meat on some bread is directionally correct. But what is actually happening here is GDC is the subway to Gamescom's Firehouse Subs. And I think that that's exactly what's going on here, right? The game development industry, at least in America or North America more broadly, is struggling. And a lot of the reason why it's struggling is because games have been these massive AAA over balloon budgets, titles that nobody really wants to play, instead of what we were just talking about, titles like Slay the Spire 2 or Mugenics, right? And I think that those studios, as they begin to fall apart, there's less of this celebratory environment about all the great things that we're doing on a year-by-year basis. As the industry becomes tougher, these people don't want to travel or they can't travel because they've run out of all of their money. And I think that the ecosystem and the environment around GDC becomes a little more depressed. I think turning it into a true festival of gaming is probably a net positive to GDC's long-term outlook. The problem is they're playing from behind. And again, they know that, yeah, this is maybe a direction we should move in. We just don't have the DNA or the know-how to execute at the level that Gamescom is doing so. And I think that that's why it fell flat. GDC has been sad for a few years. It was fucking pathetic this year.
Yeah. They also tripled the price of a ticket. It went from roughly like $350 to $1,000, which to me, if you're trying to cater to a consumer, to do that the same year you're trying to cater to a consumer instead of just business folk is psychotic.
Sam, isn't that just directionally correct though for the price of these games that the same studios are shipping every single year?
I guess so. Call it a AAA conference.
Well, if you're a normal person, you want to spend $1,000 on that or $1,000 on the new Steam Cube or the Gabe Cube, whatever we're calling it.
Yeah, for sure. For sure, the latter. Let's go to Warren.
Yeah, I mean, this was by far like I've gone to maybe 10 of these things, and this was by far the tiniest one that it's ever been. Like they're in this kind of uncanny valley where it's really serving no one right now because they do the Festival of Gaming branding, but all they really mean by that is, yes, gamers, you too are welcome to buy the tickets. We're not going to do any more shit for you. But to like when I went to Gamescom last year, there's like amazing shit. There's cosplay contests. I saw like a symphonic presentation, a symphony doing The Witcher live that literally made me cry during it. It's like, and then you compare that to GDC, there's nothing comparable from like a gamer and fan standpoint. But on the other side, for B2B, it was amazing for us as a business for uptick, but nothing having to do with them. We posted up literally catty corner to where GDC was. We just told everyone, yeah, go to GDC, then go next door. We're in that building, and we had our own little mini booth in there. We spent pennies on it and just had a nice, we had the whole B2B experience without having to spend. There was no benefit to spending all the extra money to be on the floor. It's literally only gating people to not be able to meet with you if you're trying to do it on a premises.
Indeed.
Yeah, it was, for everybody else that went, Wills, Chris, Knock, and myself, did you guys also find business value in attending, or did that also fall off a cliff with the other things that we're talking about?
I know it was better. It was way better because there were fewer people. So the people who were there to do business, and there were fewer people asking for me. It's like a combinatorial explosion, right? Where everybody you want to meet with has like some good meanings and like bullshit meanings when you have like too many people. And when it gets pared down, like the people you want to see and interact with have a little more time and space. So I thought it was way better from a business perspective.
That's a great point. Knock.
Yeah, I half agree with Chris. I think it's a lot better from a business perspective because fewer people were filling their days up with time on the show floor and had more time to meet with you at a coffee shop around the corner and not actually waste time on the premises. I think GDC overall, if you're there for business, to what he said earlier, you're in one of 4 locations and it's the W, the Regis, maybe the Marriott, and most of the time a Blue Bottle somewhere around the corner, right? That is where 90% of the business meetings are happening at GDC. So I think it was actually weirdly better for business this year, just maybe not in the way that people expected. And it was mostly just because nobody felt the need to be on the show floor.
Will all of you go back again next year? Maybe show of hands. Yeah,
I think this is a curse that we likely will not.
Just not buying a ticket.
Yeah. Everybody says
I do want to say one thing really quickly. I think my prediction is that I don't know how many of you guys went to the Exola house that was set up just across the road, but that was
that's
very
where we
high
were posted
quality.
up.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. I think that was super high quality, and I think that like Exola, they had their name everywhere, and they've kind of been this sort of like rising tide in sponsorship, events, hosting, all that kind of stuff, because they're trying to do everything for every game. I wouldn't be surprised if we see it rebranded next year as the Exola Developers Conference. Like the way that things are moving, but because they did a really good job. Their events were high quality. Their panels were super engaging. I took part in a publisher workshop over there where I got to talk with and interact with publishers in the industry. They have the right connections. Like, it was the most valuable room around, and I think that if they can bring that's what GDC was missing, is that GDC's room was not valuable, and I think that potential for collaboration there is huge. So that's my prediction.
Man, Exola's gonna love to clip that, Wills. That's like solid gold.
I know. I was going to say, I could only imagine that Shirk would love it to be the Exola Developers Conference.
He's spending the money for it anyways. If you didn't know it was GDC, you would have thought it was an Exola event. The amount of like branding that they had around the place. I say just spend the money yourself, man.
Yeah, well, it is crazy. I actually had the same thought whenever I walked out of that after saying hello to Warren at that event. It's crazy that GDC makes $0 off of that, but GDC is the reason that event is possible. And so you would imagine, if we're trying to make it a festival of games, let's bring those people into the mix, make them part of the experience, and find a way to sort of like profit or at least improve our own event directly as a result of them being there. I don't know. There's a lot of ways to do it, probably only a couple of good ones. Warren, you said you had something spicy. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, there's one other thing I don't think we touched on like super explicitly. So just before this, in January, I went to another conference in London, Pocket Gamer London, and talking to a bunch of friends from Europe, I think we should not underestimate how negative sentiment is towards the US by international gaming companies right now. So it's like we're kidnapping our own citizens, kidnapping presidents of other countries, bombing random different countries every week, and other countries are not vibing us right now with us right now. And GDC is historically an international event. And I specifically talked to a lot of teams that are like, yeah, I've gone every other year, but I don't really feel comfortable traveling to the US in the current climate. So I think that also was another kind of like, another needle like of why it was such a bad year this year.
Yeah, interesting to hear all this, but everybody still says they're going to go again next year. I'll see you guys there. With that being said,
let's run it back.
Yeah, the Nvidia DLSS 5 was possibly the most hated tech demo of 2026, but are we surprised? Sentiment score, I want 0 to 10 on what you guys think. 10 being you absolutely loved it, 0 being you absolutely hated it. Jensen Huang, CEO of Nvidia, took the stage at GTC, not GDC, 2026 on March 16th and called DLSS 5 a generational leap in visual rendering. You guys can see the trailers that we have playing here. They showed off Hogwarts Legacy, Resident Evil Requiem, Starfield, all being rendered with photorealism using this new technology. Well, the fifth iteration of this new technology. There was a lot of negative feedback. YouTube sections were reportedly near 100% negative feedback. Shocking, I know, to everybody that's ever spoken to a gamer in their life. Bethesda said they were immediately walking back their Starfield implementation that had already been built and worked on. Asmongold did a usual 12-minute review, and he said the thing he directionally agreed with the most was that DLSS 5 doesn't enhance the art style, it fully replaces it. The hyper-realistic output looks nothing like what the original artist made, and it's ignoring the technical flaws as well. Like in one of the demos, if you pause, you see several 6-wheeled station wagons instead of 4-wheeled. The jerseys and the ball moving around in real time looks pretty good, but if you freeze frame any of these moments, you can pick out some pretty staggering visual issues with them. Defenders, including Digital Foundry, pushed back, saying something along the lines of, if this had been marketed as next-gen rendering instead of AI, the reaction would have been completely different. So sentiment score 0 to 10. Knock, what you got?
Yeah, I'm going to give it a solid 7.5 here, because I think that there's going to be real applications that are useful long term. Personally, I fucking hate the way that it looks. Like Madden does this 8K end zone cam that freaks me the fuck out because it looks more realistic than watching an NFL game live. So I don't like that at all. And the way that some of these characters look in the trailer that we're watching just freaks me out. I do agree with Asmongold, which is maybe the first time I've said those words in that order. And he pointed out that, hey, this fundamentally changes the art style, which I think is actually the biggest problem here. I also agree with defenders who are saying, if these two scary letters weren't involved in this story, we'd probably have a little bit of a different take on what we're seeing here. I think this is a demo. The demo is meant to demonstrate the product. It is not the final version of this product. It'll only get better with time, much like everything else with AI. The version that we are seeing right now is the worst version you are ever going to see of this product. And what's going to matter is how it's implemented versus what the technology itself can do. I think good teams are going to turn this into an incredible tool. I think bad teams are going to turn this into something terrible. But let's be real. There's plenty of discrepancies in video game art today. I don't think the way that the jerseys are moving or the way that the ball flies is a problem when in 15 NHL games in a row, a goalie could glitch and throw a puck the entire length of the ice.
Jonah, I want to send it to you because I know you have to jet in just a second. Sentiment score 0 to 10 for DLSS 5.
Like a 6 for me, to be honest. Like the tech is incredible. The super sampling tech is really good, but it's kind of like, well, one, if you watch the Nvidia conference, they kind of like did this quickly and then said, okay, let's stop talking gaming. Now let's go to the stuff that you care about, which is AI compute and how we're going to own everything and make trillions of dollars a year. So I think that there's 2 issues. One, I think they kind of just did this so they could, show they have some sort of market in gaming still. But they really don't care about gaming as much. You can see that in the way that they're selling their GPUs.
Yeah.
But I think the bigger issue is that, like, a lot of these games already look pretty amazing. Like, okay, so you make it look more human. I mean, there's an uncanny valley aspect there, but a lot of the best games that are in the market right now don't have the best graphics, so they have the best art style. And what's left is making better physics, allowing more things to happen without frying a server, being cross-compatible, things that a coat of paint doesn't solve for. So it doesn't. It's kind of like GDC. Like, yeah, it's cool. Like I would go, or I want the product, but it's not really addressing a need I have. Like, okay, great, you have DLSS 5. Nobody can buy a GPU, so who cares?
Yeah, fair point there. Let's go to Wills then to Knock.
My sentiment score is a 3 for this. I mean, not to kind of jump on the bandwagon, but I really do think that like the kinds of games that this helps, and the teams that would be really using this to like take them the extra mile and really push them over the line, like that game was going to be soulless to begin with. Like this is I don't think this is not for games that have unique art styles that are trying to say something with their arts. This is for hyper realism. Let's be real. This is Guna technology. This is not for those who want to play interesting mechanics. This is for those who are, you know, unhappy with the real life and want to go pay their taxes in a video game. And I frankly just don't think that the market is that huge for that. I think that where we're like realism isn't a moat anymore. Your game being realistic isn't something that makes it unique, or isn't something that is going to have people talking about it. It's your mechanics, it's the way your game plays, and it's how it allows you to interact with other players. This changes none of that. This makes everything look like the old DLSS memes that were coming out for DLSS 4. Like, I don't know. I think soulless games will use it, soulful games will not, and I think that tells you about as much as you need to know.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because we saw those huge upgrades from the PS1 to the PS2, PS2 to the PS3, and then basically people said, like, you're never going to see that again, right? It's
and then we didn't.
Yeah, and we haven't. But when I look at this and the way that it changes, like, the Hogwarts lady's face, I'm like, well, that's different. That's a big change. I've
never seen a shadow before. How did they do that?
There's more to it than that. And I think that if you take the vast majority of people, which are FIFA players, Call of Duty players and stuff, I think that they do care. I think that they will go, holy shit, this is all of the upgrades from FIFA 2026 to FIFA 2016. This one update makes it look like that much progress, all in one slider that I turn on. And there's a vast majority of people that I think will be impressed by that. We can make fun of it, but I think there is a cohort. Let's go over to
I think that just to jump off that really quick, I think that the real unlock here is that you won't even need to play FIFA anymore. This will just be coming straight out of Stake or Polymarket or Kalshi. It'll be a fake game that's hyper realistic that you can bet on, and we don't even need to pay athletes to actually play the game anymore. You can just gamble on DLSS 5, you know, and it looks real enough. Who gives a shit? The world's burning. Let's gamble on fake bullshit. Like, that's where I think that this is taking us.
Hey, Copilot, play FIFA for me. Warren, over to you.
Yeah, I mean, my hot take here is, like, this is going to be one of the last times that anyone ever talks about this. I think, like, this, like, I think Knock said it, but this is just a tool. And let's give game artists some credit here and game designers that there's going to be cases like FC, formerly FIFA, where it does make sense to use a tool like this, and it will make it a more immersive experience for those players, and they'll appreciate it. I don't think they're going to be even talking about how it's being encoded or up-resed. And at the same time, games that make bespoke, memorable, you know, visual design languages, they're going to know not to use this shit, because they're going to know that there's, like, a sameness and a normalization that comes from it. That's everything bad about AI. Like, we see, like, you know, as a company that runs ads for a living, we see anytime we enter that kind of uncanny valley of that AI feel of, like, either real people or AI cartoon art, like, there is a sameness to it that just turns people off. And I think those will be the situations where people know not to use this. But no one's going to ever talk about this again. It's going to be a tool that some game developers use, and there'll be some other technologies that supplement or alternatives to this. And it's just going to be kind of a bucket of tools that AI enables for us that is boring background shit.
That's a great point. And I think it bolsters what I'm saying. There's a sameness to everything that will use DLSS, and there's a sameness to the last 28 FIFAs and a sameness to the last 18 Call of Duties. So who the fuck cares? You might as well use it because they're going to look identical anyway. It might as well look extra pretty this time. Chris, over to you.
Did I miss the part of the announcement where Jensen is going to come over to your house and put a gun to your head and force you to use this? That's how people are acting. You know, I mean, for 1,000 years, every gamer was like, realistic graphics. All they wanted is more realistic graphics. Now they get the most realistic graphics of all time, and they're crying about it. What the fuck, right? Like, if you don't want it, turn it off. And but I tell you, this is one of these things where you have to know how to listen to gamers and how they think, because they just like to complain, right? They're gonna cry about this now, then it's gonna come out, then they're all gonna fucking use it, then they're gonna secretly say it's awesome. You know, it's gonna have its time. I think, and I think the point that it's a tool is another one. Like, put this in the hands of creative people who, you know, who actually make games with this in mind, and it'll look fucking dope, and it'll make games more cinematic and more competitive with movies. I mean, Who wants fucking creepy mannequin characters? Like, I'm going to turn on the creepy mannequin setting or the cinematic awesomeness setting. It's just pretty fucking clear what you're going to do.
Let's do a little quick fire. By 2028, over under 20% of AAA games will be using this. Chris,
over.
Wills.
I mean, of the 5 AAA games that will be remaining, I think it's going to be all of them. I think this is a prerequisite for labeling yourself as AAA.
Knock.
Will literally took like word for word right out of my mouth. So I'm
Warren.
Yeah, I think anything in the ballpark of realism. So I'll pick the over.
Explain, like I'm a shareholder, why literally anybody, or why you would want to hold literally any stock except for Roblox stock. It accounted for 67% of all non-China gaming growth in 2025. I'm not talking about just kid games or just mobile games. Literally 67% of all of gaming growth that is not related to China. Roblox hit 4.9 billion in revenue in 2025. Bookings reached 6.8 billion, up 55%. Daily active users averaged 126 million, with a Q4 hitting 144 million. Total hours engaged surged 69% to 123 billion, more than Steam, PlayStation, and Fortnite combined. How can you justify holding anything other than Roblox, especially whenever you see the collapse of Unity stock, the collapse of Ubisoft stock, all these merges happening, etc.? Chris, explain this like I'm a shareholder, dude.
It's the only gaming stock worth owning other than Take-Two, in my opinion. It's also one of the only ones left after EA sold, right? I mean, people don't understand what Roblox is still in the games industry. I mean, you can make a game for Roblox and publish it to every single device, right? Every console, the Switch, fucking phones, PC. I mean, wherever you are, Roblox runs. It is consistently one of the top 5 games on every console platform. It is consistently one of the most played game in the world. When people in the industry are always saying, we need a new platform. We have a new platform. It's called fucking Roblox, and you can make a game on it and deploy it anywhere. It just doesn't look AAA. So most people in the gaming industry, and it used to be played by kids, and it still has a lot of kids. So people in the gaming industry don't give it the credit that it should.
So you're saying that there is a second, though. We can own Take-Two at least and wait for Grand Theft Auto to come out.
I mean, if you want to, or you could put it in Roblox and make more money in the meantime.
Wills, I'm going to you next, buddy.
Yeah, I would say that the reason Roblox works as a gaming stock is because it's not a game. It's just, as Chris said, it is a platform. It is something much more than that. And I think what we're seeing with the privatization of EA is we're seeing this real rethinking going on in the industry. Maybe shareholder interests and timelines and the way that public companies are set up don't actually lead companies to make great games. Maybe those things get in the way of that process. And I think that's what we've seen. EA, Activision, Blizzard, all of these things. The interview that just came out with Jeff Kaplan talking about how the financial and pressures for Overwatch to do well and for Blizzard to have these metrics by these times prevented them from being able to make good games and operate effectively as game devs. I think that there's so much about how we've been trying to shove gaming and shoehorn gaming into this kind of public company, public publisher box that hasn't worked. And this is why Roblox is doing so well in comparison, is because it's not making games. It's making a platform on which you can make games. It's a tech company, and tech companies do great. They punch earnings, they make investors happy in a way that games don't or aren't able to translate to the success formula that public companies have. So I think that we're going to see more gaming tech companies do well and less actual gaming publishers and studios, because those are going to reprivatize and focus on owning the creative process.
We got Chris, who's chomping at the bit to jump back in. Go ahead.
Yeah, Wills makes a great point, which is this is the closest you can get to an ETF of gaming. If you buy Sony, you're buying Sony Pictures, you're buying Sony Television, you're buying Crunchyroll, you're buying all their real estate holdings in Japan. Like, it's a bunch of stuff in that stock. if you buy Microsoft, you're buying, mostly, Azure and Office software and stuff like that, not Xbox. So if you want an index fund of gaming, this is the closest thing you're going to get.
That's a great point. Let's go to Knock and then to Warren.
Yeah, Will's made a great point, and this is a tech company, but like every other tech company, there's an inherent risk with the CEO and his apparent obsession with dating kids, dating for kids. Maybe a little bit of a Freudian slip there for tech giants in the United States right now. But the point is this, right? There are only two real downsides here. You have a age group migration where 65-70% of the total people who are on Roblox are under the age of 18 years old. There's a real risk that those players outgrow the platform. The second real risk is Bazooki on multiple occasions has said, we want to turn Roblox into a dating site, to which every sane human being on the planet has said, what the fuck are you talking about? And I think that those are the only real risks. If you're looking at it from a business perspective, Chris and Wills have nailed it, right? This is the best stock on the market from a gaming POV. It's a borderline tech stock. And I think if you're looking from where people are spending time, there is no better place than Roblox. I think that there's a lot to like, with a couple of things that you're a little worried about, Freudian slip aside, which still fits the bill.
Let's go over to Warren.
Yeah, so disclaimer that I think everything y'all said about it being this is the growth story in gaming, like hands down. So just to make it interesting, I will give the bear case here, which is that even though it is the highest grossing, by some margin, highest grossing game or games platform in the industry, it lost $1 billion last year. It is still somehow not a profitable business, which I was shocked when I learned that. And even with its forward PE ratio, it's apparently 192x. So like there is a lot of hope that like eventually this thing will be profitable. Eventually this will make money. So I would say that is like the bear case against it, is there's a lot of future perfection and future revenue baked in. That being said, I'm just saying this for the hell of it and to make it interesting. I do think like it's the absolute dominant force. And what I think the opportunity is here, it actually kind of rhymes with some of the, if anyone watched like Robinhood's latest marketing event and announcements, it was really around retirement and boomers dying and passing on generational wealth to the next generation. And how can we get these people in now? So when they actually have money and are spending, we have all their loyalty, we're their platform. And I think that's what the bull case for Roblox is this is the thing that people played when they were growing up, when they weren't spending in games. But like all of us, we still love our favorite games and platforms from growing up, and we go back to them. So I think it will make a lot of bank in the future, but there is a lot of assumption baked in to it ever being a viable business, which it is not yet from a profit standpoint.
Chris, do you see any world in which they're not able to bring this to being a profitable company?
Well, if you look at it, a lot of that's accounting. They have a very funny way of accounting for things that's very conservative, actually. I've talked to a lot of high-profile investors about this, and they're like, the more important thing is they're throwing off a massive amount of cash flow. So the profit, the unprofitability is really the way they're accounting for expenses, but they're not in danger of like going out of business or anything, right? So they're a very healthy company.
All right, boys. Well, with that being said, it's time to vote for your MVP of the episode. We had a couple of people drop off. Shout out to Jonah and to Oliver. But Wills, I'm going to you first. Who's your MVP, brother?
I got to give it to Warren. I can't remember the last time I was on a show with Warren, but I love his heaters. I love him coming at it from the advertiser standpoint. I know that he's very deep in the industry, and he pulled a lot of that knowledge in today, and I love to hear it.
Inclined to agree with you there. Warren, who's your vote?
I gotta first of all, thank you, Wills, but I gotta throw this to Jerry. So him not showing up allowed me to look good and him not shining on me. So Jerry, you're my MVP this one.
He's gonna love to find that out, dude. Knock, who you got?
I'm giving it to Wills. I think for a little while there, the Z and the B were fighting for first place over his Umer. Wills consistently changes his tune, but always says his things with conviction. I think it was actually a great episode from Wills. I really enjoyed a lot of the takes around AI, and even though I disagree with most of them.
Chris Heatherly, who you got, brother?
It's Will's, man. I mean, he I think he was on a heater today, but also he's just got that positive, upbeat energy that I love. So I'm here for Will's.
Will's always towing the line between crotchety old man and absolute zoomer. Will's 60 seconds of FaceTime. Congrats on another MVP. Take us away, brother.
No, it's the line on which I live. But yeah, I don't know. I may as well just kind of chill a little bit because I'm doing some new stuff that you guys might not have heard about. I recently started an organization called Gamecred that helps indie games prepare for conversations with publishers, from marketing to branding to, kind of getting those intro conversations, really just looking to like help indie games succeed at all levels. I've started kind of like interacting with the indie game community a lot more kind of firsthand than just playing their games. And there's so much growth and energy there. It is unreal. And that's what GDC was for me, was really feeling the upward push of like indies coming in to fill the vacuum that has been left by AAA. I think, consumers are being more choosy with how they spend their money. They want to play content that feels directly made for them. And I've been saying that on the show for years now. And I think we're really going to start to see the kind of next era. Gaming's in a down slump right now, and that's because we're adjusting. And I think the adjustment is coming. People are going to learn how to pick their games, and indies are going to learn how to make the games that people want. And it's going to be a beautiful, beautiful horizon.
That's awesome, man. Congratulations on the launch of that. What a great fit for you and all of the things that you love. I think that's awesome. Let us know any of the ways that we can support. Always a big fan. And that's going to do it for episode 152. We'll see you guys back same time, same place next week. Find us on Spotify. Give us 5 stars. Share it with a friend in the industry that might enjoy the show. We'll see you.